In this video, I'm going to show you how to address a big problem that everyone must face whenever they're building blockchain applications in the real world. All right, and that's the need for your users to have a special wallet installed in order to even use your application. So whenever you build a dApp, in order for someone to use it, they must have a wallet installed like Metamask, this little Chrome extension here, or they must have some sort of Ethereum-enabled browser to connect to it. And most people just simply aren't going to have this. So whenever they go use your application, if they don't have one of these wallets installed or they're not using a special blockchain browser, then we want to tell them that they need to do that in order to continue even using the product, okay? So in this video, I'm going to show you how to do exactly that. I'll show you how to detect whether or not they have a wallet installed. And if they don't have one, we're going to give them a special alert that tells them that they need to do it before they even continue using the application, just like this. All right, so before we get into that, if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory from dApp University. On this channel, I teach you how to become a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then click the like button down below and click subscribe. And if you want to master real world blockchain skills, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. So what I'm going to do is show you how to add this to your existing projects, okay? Before we get started, let's make sure you have all the correct dependencies installed in order to follow along with this tutorial. The first dependency you need is Node.js. So you can check to see if you have Node already installed by going to your terminal and typing node-v, okay? If you don't have it installed, you can download it directly from the Node.js website, just like this. The next is the Truffle framework. This is just a library or a framework for building Ethereum smart contracts and also the client-side website, which we're going to modify in this tutorial to detect Metamask out of the box. All right. So once you have all those installed, the next thing that we're going to do is clone an existing project. Okay. So I'm going to go to the dApp University GitHub repository. All right. And, the dApp University GitHub organization and find the social network tutorial. Okay. This is one of the last sort of like feature length tutorials that I've done on my channel where I show you how to build a social network that runs on the blockchain. So what we're going to do is basically clone or download this project onto our computer and run it. And we're going to modify the code so that it, detects Metamask like this. And if the user doesn't have it installed, it will, redirect them to a screen that instructs them to install MetaMask. Okay. So let's just copy this URL. All right. And then go to the code and say git clone. All right. And paste this in. So I'm going to get a warning. That's okay because, it's an error. I get an error because I've already got this, installed on my computer because, well, I created them on my computer. So you should see a success message that says that you successfully cloned the social network app. So I'm going to enter into that directory, cd social network. All right. And what I'm going to do now is go ahead and open this project in Sublime Text. Just make sure that all the files are here. All right. This is my text editor of choice. So I can open the file browser here and see that everything was installed correctly. All right. We've got some smart contracts in here. All right. So what I'm going to do now is install all of the project dependencies that came with the tutorial like this. We'll say npm install. Okay. So I've already done this step, but you go ahead and do this to ensure that all your node packages are installed. Okay. Once that's finished, go ahead and start the web server to make sure that the website runs properly. So we say npm run start. All right. So, all right, once that's started, you should see something that looks like this. Okay, so this is the website that was built in the social network tutorial. So again, if you want a more in-depth understanding of that, you can always go back and watch that tutorial, follow along with that. But here's what we have, okay? So we got this loading screen here. We've got the dApp University, the nav bar, the Ethereum address that we're connected with, okay? So let's get rid of this loading screen. We need to do... what we need to do is deploy the smart contract to the test network. So start Ganache, all right? This is the development blockchain. I'm just going to click Quick Start. And I'm going to deploy the smart contracts to the test network like this, okay? I've opened this in a new tab so that I can work here. Let's just say truffle migrate. And this should put the social network smart contract on the blockchain. All right. And if we refresh the page here, we see the page content. So this is what the app should look like if somebody has MetaMask properly installed and they want to, use the application. But if they don't have MetaMask properly installed, then we want to show them this. All right. So how do we do that? Well, that's what I'm going to show you how to do right now. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my terminal here and open this one more time in Sublime Text because I accidentally closed it. But we're going to go to the app.js file and do most of the work inside of there. So inside the file browser, you should navigate to source, components, app.js, okay? So really quickly, if you're not familiar with React, that's okay. You don't have to understand much about React. This is mostly going to be about Web3.js and JavaScript, okay? But really quickly, this is a React component. That's how React organizes the code for these client-side applications, okay? And basically, the main things you want to watch out for are the React component and this render function, okay? And then also the React state, because those are the three main things we're going to use. All right, React state is basically just how React manages all of the data for each component. All right. So the main thing we want to do is interact with the Web3.js library to detect whether or not MetaMask installed. That's what's going to tell us whether or not the user has a blockchain wallet when they're visiting our website. Okay, so really quickly, Web3.js is the JavaScript library that turns our our web application here into a blockchain application. All right, without Web3.js, we can't really connect to the blockchain. So Web3 is what allows us to detect whether or not the user has this blockchain wallet installed. So it does this by looking for an Ethereum provider. And you can see here in the code, I have this load Web3 function. So what this does is it checks for an object attached to window inside of JavaScript, okay? An object called Web3. And if that object exists, then we create a new connection to the blockchain like this. Here's the syntax, new Web3, and then you pass in window Web3 current provider. All right, this is just an Ethereum provider that MetaMask gives us in order to connect to the blockchain. Okay, this is sort of the classic way of doing it. Now, some new dApp browsers have window.ethereum. MetaMask also uses this. But window.web3 is going to be sort of our source of truth to see whether or not they have MetaMask installed, all right? So that's how we're going to do it in this tutorial. All right, this is the most basic way to do it. So you can even see here in the code that we have this window.alert, non-Ethereum browser detected. You should consider trying MetaMask. But what we want to do is, not raise a basic JavaScript alert. We actually want to add some more sophisticated code that will hide the app completely if they don't have it installed and tell them to use MetaMask. Okay, it won't load anything if we cancel out of the alert. We want to get a little more sophisticated. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So what we want to do is check whether or not window.web3 is undefined. All right. So we can do that in JavaScript like this. We'll say window.web3 bang equals undefined. All right. So what we say is, type of. So if this right here evaluates to true, then we know that MetaMask is installed. So we can basically just say const MetaMask installed. Oops, there you go. Equals this. All right. So, if the type of Web3 is undefined, then basically we know that MetaMask is not installed. So the opposite of that means that MetaMask is installed. So essentially what we're going to do here is create a variable that is true or false. It's going to be true if this means MetaMask installed. It's going to be false if MetaMask is not installed. Okay. So I'll make a note here that just says detect MetaMask. All right. And then what we want to do is store this value in the React state object. So that's this thing right here. All right, we'll be able to access this .state throughout this component. All right, you can see we're doing that already a few times. Let's see here, this state.account, et cetera, and we assign new objects to new values to the state object like this, this set state. So that's what we'll do right here. We'll say this set state. Let's see, Metamask installed equals Metamask installed. All right, so this is going to be, true or false value. So really quickly, since we're not writing a ton of code in this tutorial, I'm going to refactor this to show you that you can also do that just like this in ES6. So basically, if you have a key and a value inside a JavaScript object that have the same name, this is the shorthand for doing that. Okay. So the next thing that we want to do, basically, if Metamask is installed, then we want to, continue doing all this stuff, right? Loading Web3 and also loading the blockchain data. So we'll just move these inside of here. All right. So if it is installed, then we'll do these things. And if not, basically, we'll just do nothing inside this component setup. All right. Boom. There we go. So at this point, if we refresh the page, then everything should look the same. So let's just refresh. Yeah, everything will look the same, provided that you actually have MetaMask installed. But if we go to a non-Ethereum enabled browser, then it should look kind of broken. So I'm going to open up Safari here. Yeah, and it just says loading, which is not really right. So if somebody comes to this website and they don't have MetaMask installed, they just see a loading prompt, then, well, that's not going to be ideal. So let's fix that. But first, we can refactor this. So this alert we can take away and just basically say do nothing. All right. So, you can refactor this more if you want to as an exercise and make this conditional a little more, polished. Okay. So now what we want to do is if MetaMask is installed, we want to show the appropriate content. And if it's not, we want to show that MetaMask loading screen that I showed you a minute ago. Okay. So first, we need to do a couple of things. We need to refactor some of this to accommodate it. This is all the main content for the page, right? You can see here's the nav bar. All right. Here's the nav bar right here. Okay. And then here's the content here. So this is inside of main, right? This is the main component that holds all this information here, right? All this content. And then if here's the loading screen we saw a second ago. Here's the loader. All right. And that's what this is right here. So basically we want to put all this inside of one big code block that we can evaluate. And then we want to have a separate component for the MetaMask alert. So what I'm going to do is go up in the render function and refactor this into a new expression. Just inside of here, I'm going to say let content. All right. And so basically, we're going to turn this into the content. So I'll show you how to do that. We'll say, if this.state.loading. All right. Then we'll do something. And then else, just do something else. Okay, so that's the same thing as saying this. So this is a ternary expression where it basically is just an inline if-then statement. So we're going to refactor this into a conditional like this. So if this.state loading, then we're going to show the loader. Basically, we're going to say content equals that. Okay, and if it's not, then we're going to say content equals this. Okay, so I'm going to put this all on one line so it's easier to read. Okay. So that may be a little more readable for you all if you're not familiar with, ternaries and how they work. But now what we want to do is just kind of refactor this and say content here just to make sure it still works. All right. Let's move this space here. And okay, everything looks like it still works. That's good. So now what we want to do is determine whether MetaMask was installed or not. And if it is installed, we want to show the content. And if it's not installed, we want to show some sort of message. Okay. So say this.state.metamask. All right. We're going to use a ternary again. Basically, this is just an if-then statement in JavaScript that is a one-liner. So we use a question mark. Basically, if this is true, then do this. If it's false, then do this. So we'll just, create a new div here, kind of like this. and we'll say, please install Metamask. All right, let's just see what that looks like. Okay, so we got a problem here. Let's do this. Sorry, guys. Oh, I see. We're missing a caret. Okay, cool. Awesome. So let's go to Safari, our non-Ethereum enabled browser, and see what it says. Okay, so please install Metamask. Awesome. So that's the basic functionality right there. It's detected whether Metamask is installed. If it's not, we just show this kind of boring alert, but hey, it works. So let's take it the next step and, show that Fox icon, show a nice big, bold alert, and let's add some more kind of sophisticated messaging so that our app looks, professional. So I'm going to, we'll leave this here for now. What I'm going to do is create a new component. All right. So let's take this nav bar here, just copy it, create a new file. And I'm going to call this Metamask alert.js. So capital M for Metamask, capital A alert. And then I'm going to paste in the navbar code. I'm going to take out all this stuff that says nav. Well, let's do it this way. Take out all this. I'm going to call this a div. All right, div. I'm going to call this class name. We'll say MY5. That's going to give us some margin on the top. I'll say H1. Please install Metamask. All right, so that'll be the start. So we'll change this nav bar to Metamask alert. All right, and then we'll remove this Identicon import. Okay. So now we'll go back to the app.js file. We'll copy the nav bar, go down here and call this Metamask alert. All right. And then I'm going to copy this. And instead of this thing, let's take this away and say Metamask alert. Oops, sorry. All right. So we got a little bit of an issue here. It's not finding Metamask alert. Let's see what the problem is. Might have done a typo. Let's just do rename. Copy this. Oops. Take away the JS. Sorry, I'm not sure what's going on here, guys. Let's see if this fixes. All right, so Metamask alert not defined. Just paste this in here. All right, there we go. Awesome. Looks like I just had a little typo. My fault. So we've got the Metamask alert working properly. At least it's importing into the code. Let's look at our non-Ethereum enabled browser and see what it looks like. So boom, there we go. Please install Metamask. So that's a step in the right direction. So the last thing I want to do is add, this fancy Fox icon onto the page so that they have some sort of visual understanding of what we're talking about. Okay. So I'm going to basically just take the icon from Metamask and put it inside there. Metamask, if you're watching this, I don't think you're going to mind. I think a lot of other people have done this too. This is for educational purposes. I'm not trying to rip off your product. So I don't think you're going to mind. I'm going to just rip this and put it into my project. All right, so I've taken the Metamask icon and I've put it on my desktop. So I'm going to go ahead and drag it in my project like this. I'm just going to put it in the source directory. Pop it in here, and then we'll just say move for now. Okay. All right. So it'll be next to the logo, and we can import it into our project just like this. All right. So we'll go to Metamask alert, and we'll say import Metamask logo just like this. Boom. All right. Metamask logo. Boom. So now what we want to do is create an image. Well, first of all, let's say like this. All right, so image source Metamask logo. I've given it a width of 250, and then I've added some margin to the bottom, so there's a little bit of space, okay? And I'm gonna also make the text centered in here. So say text center, all right? And we'll go back to the page and see if the main app is working properly. All right, the main app is working. And let's look at the non-Ethereum enabled browser. Boom. There we go. Please install Metamask. So this is a much more sophisticated version where the user has some sort of visual indication of what they're supposed to do. All right, so that's it, guys. I hope you all like this video. That's how you can detect Metamask in your applications and alert the user if they don't have it. Tell them to install Metamask. You could build this out even more. Maybe have a video on what they're supposed to do if they don't have Metamask installed. Maybe link them to some instructions on how to install it and use your application. That's really going to improve your conversion rate for new user signups and things like that. All right, so again, hope you like this video. As always, subscribe to the channel, click the like button down below. And if you want to become a real-world blockchain developer, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. And until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.